Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Dennis along with Jesse Moeller, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we're here to do NFL Week 10 fantasy football game recap. How's it going, Jesse? How'd you do today?
Did pretty good for the most part. In my home league, the one I care about the most, I'm going up against Keenan Allen. So that was not so great for me, but we're hanging in there. It's just, it's been a struggle. Overall, it's been a pretty good day. I'm happy with a lot of the leagues, so I can't complain.
Yeah,
How about
my
yourself?
home league, I'm going up against Keenan Allen as well, but I'm on the winning end so far. I'm 8-1 in that league, and it's just me and the other guy. I'm projected to score 198. He's projected to score 191. Every other team in the league is at like 120 or 130. So it just happens where me and him are just going off. Like I had like every good player was owned between one of the two of us. So we're just going off like crazy. It's
Right.
kind of entertaining. So I'm going in. I'm up 25. Anyways, I don't know. I'm up 25. I think I'm projected to win by 10. It might be up 25, it might be up 35. But I'm either up 20 or 30. But I have good God, I can't remember what running back. Oh, I have Javonte Williams left on Monday, and he has Diggs and Jacobs left. So I think I'm up
Nice.
30 with a 2-on-1 left, and he's projected to lose to me by 10. So I'm hoping I
Yeah,
get
it's all
enough
just
for Javonte. I just want Javonte to cancel out Jacobs. And then I gotta hope Steph Diggs doesn't drop a 30 bomb. So
right. Exactly. It's like, okay, I feel a little bit better if that happens. It's just,
yeah.
yeah, I hate when it's a 2-on-1. You're just holding on. You're like, just don't go off, please. Please don't go off.
Yeah, 2-on-1 with a like I said, 2-on-1 with a pretty sizable lead. So we'll see. All right. Let's get into it. First game we're gonna recap is the Thursday nighter. We've got Panthers. We've got let's come to one side. There we go. That's a little better, I think. Panthers and Bears. Bears win a barn burner 16-13. This game definitely fit in on Thursday because it didn't fit on Sunday. There were a lot of good games in the late window, but
Yes, there were.
not a lot to see here. Both quarterbacks were terrible. 10 points for Bryce Young, 8 points for Tyson Bagent. I'll run through the rest of them here. Chuba Hubbard, he had 23 yards, no touchdown. Miles Sanders, negative 5 yards on 2 carries. Deontay Foreman was good. He had 21 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. Roshan was all right. He had 18 yards, but he added in 4 catches for 14 yards. The receivers were also not great. Thielen had 6 for 42. DJ Moore had 5 for 58. So both had 10 or 11 points. No other receiver was useful. Cole Kmet was all right. He had 5 catches for 45 yards for 12 points. Tommy Tremble had 3 for 16. Cairo Santo was good, 12 points. Pinheiro was not so great, 6 points. He broke my streak. I was 7 for 8 this week in my Crossing the Streams article, 4 for 4 on defense, and Pinheiro was my lone miss at kicker. Both of these scored over 8 points, which was my threshold. So I had the Bears and the Panthers, which were both decent streamers at 10 and 8.5. What are your takeaways from this one?
What an ugly game.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. There's only one touchdown. So that's really how Devonta Foreman got home. If he doesn't get that touchdown, he's looking at 10 points, and just across the board, it's just ugly. It's just, there was no offense. These quarterbacks couldn't really do much. I was a little surprised Bryce Young struggled as much as he did, but you saw the effect it had on the offense. Just Miles Sanders looks like one of the biggest busts this year for redraft.
Oh, it's insane.
And then, like, on the flip side, it's just, yeah, I got him. At least Thielen had 10 targets, but I'm not confident in these teams moving forward. It's just,
like,
it's
I
just
think
pretty gross, honestly.
If you started Komet or Foreman, you're happy with what you got.
Yeah.
DJ Moore and Thielen, you're not happy, but it didn't kill you. You're just I think anyone else pretty much kills you. The defense and the kicker on the Bears side weren't terrible. They did all right, but this is a game where if you didn't start anyone Thursday, you probably woke up Friday and were like, oh, I'm happy with that result. You know, one of those games where it's like you hope your opponent had 4 players in the game and totaled 9 points. So
right. They're just really going in on Thursday, the risk. And sometimes that happens. And just these offenses, like, I mean, it's Tyson Bagent, right? Like, he's not that good of a quarterback. Bryce Young's still a rookie figuring it out. So going up against defenses that are improved. So we kind of thought this might happen. It was a very low over-under. And that's how it went. You just watch this game like, oh, gosh, we have to watch this entire game. It's like, yeah.
I
They
like
had that
when it's a
feel to it.
crappy game on Thursday. I don't necessarily need this crappy, but there's nothing worse than going into Sunday morning and your opponent's only played 2 players and you're down 70 points already. It's like,
Yeah.
well, my week is dead on Thursday. I prefer to not have anyone or have no real big swings on Thursday night. That's the worst feeling. Just going in and knowing you're just gonna have a fucking nightmare of a week. But so both quarterbacks were terrible. Yeah.
DJ Moore a couple weeks ago when he put up like 50 burger. Like, okay, yeah, this sucks.
Yeah. Yep. I think I had, was that last year where it was oh no. Yeah, it was on Chicago though. It was DJ.
Yeah, no, he did it like he had
No,
like
I'm
all the
thinking
catches and
I'm getting it mixed up. It wasn't DJ Moore that I'm thinking of last year. It was Justin Fields, where I had Fields on a Thursday game and he put up 52 or something. And I think it was Bears, Bengals, and Mixon and Fields both put up 50 plus. And I had them both, and I was up 104 or something after Thursday night. And it was fucking incredible.
That's wild. That's absolutely
yes,
wild.
it is. So let's not do that again. All right. Our next game. Colts 10, Patriots 6. We really got off to a slow week, which I'm going to scroll through the games. I think the 2 worst games of the year, or of the week at least, were the first 2 out of the gate. So we started off terrible with another 2. Like, I don't think the threshold for top 12 quarterback this week is going to be all that high because Mac Jones put up 170 yards and an interception for 7 points. Minshew 194 and a pick for 5.5. Both running backs were decent here. Taylor put up 17 points on 69 yards and a touchdown. Ramondre 15 points on 88 yards and 3 receptions for 14. Zach Moss killed you. 1 carry, 2 yards. Zeke Elliott was, better than anyone has expected. 13 carries, 54 yards, still 2 catches. So he didn't completely kill Ramondre there, but it's certainly capping his ceiling. Moving on to the receivers, we had a great game for Pittman, who had 8 for 84, 6 for 84 from Douglas. Then nobody else really did anything that great. Isaiah McKenzie had 4 for 31, and no other receiver. I guess Downs had 2 for 40, nothing really to write home about. All the tight ends were a waste. 3 for 21, 2 for 22, 1 for 7, 1 for 5, nothing notable. Both kickers put up 5 points. They were terrible. The Colts were great again, 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, 20 burger. The Patriots were not great, 1 interception, 10 points allowed. So despite the fact that they only gave up 10 points, they only got you 7.5 fantasy points. So not great. What stood out here?
It's Jonathan Taylor's backfield. I was looking at start percentages, and apparently 20% of people in sleeper redraft started Zach Moss this week. So yeah, that was a rough one for them. We know Jonathan Taylor is one of, if not the best running back in football, and he's finally back, and they trust him, so they're just going to roll with him. So the Zach Moss, as much as we loved it, it's over. It's dead and gone.
Snap share was 89% for Taylor, 15% for Moss. It is over.
Yeah, it's officially over. And then like on the wide receivers, Downs, there was risk with the injury. He only ran 14 routes. Like he did not, 14 snaps, 12 routes. So he barely played in this game. So if you started him, it was kind of risky. He got you a little bit, but yeah, it was risky. On the flip side, Demario Douglas, he's the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. Like that's what we've been kind of hoping, and he was good. So you can at least count on him moving forward, which is nice to see that they have a viable absolute wide receiver because they have not had one for a long time over there.
Yep, that is true. He looked pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. He's certainly worth the fab budget so far. Tight ends were all useless. Quarterbacks were useless. So unless you started the 2 running backs or Pittman Douglas, you didn't get much. So once again, we have a game where there was 2 to 4 useful assets and a bunch of garbage. So we are not off to a hot start. 2 games in, and we have 2 of the worst games of the year. So
at least the Colts defense is really good. I was like surprised. I was looking down. It's like said they got 17 fantasy points. So I was like, wow, well worked out.
Yeah, 20
or 20 in your scoring. Yeah. It's really good though.
All right. We'll move on to one of the best games of the year. Cleveland 33, Baltimore 31. This one was all over the place. Baltimore had a huge lead and somehow managed to blow it. Both quarterbacks had surprisingly bad days fantasy-wise considering the score. Watson had 213 and 1 touchdown, 1 interception for 19 points, 37 yards on the ground. Lamar had 223, 1 touchdown, but 2 late interceptions in the second half that really hurt him. 41 yards on the ground. He had 17 points. So both of them we're under 20 points. So, like I said, the threshold for top 12 QB is going to be really, really low going into Sunday Night Football. Running backs were not bad, but largely disappointing. Like nothing great for fantasy, but they didn't kill you. All four of them were startable unless you had Strong or Justice Hill. Ford had 107 yards, but only 14 points because he didn't score. Hunt had only 32 yards, but the touchdown got him to 10 points. Keaton Mitchell played. He ended up with 34 yards and 32 receiving, but a touchdown got him to 14 points. And Gus Edwards had only 24 yards, but once again, we have the third running back in this game who was bailed out by a touchdown for 11 points. So if you look at just the numbers, this is one where you would say all four running backs were basically even. But if you look at it, this was a Jerome Ford game by a mile. He had almost as many carries and yards as the other three combined. He was the lone one to not score a touchdown, and that's why it looks the way it does. Receivers, we have four actually decent receivers here, decent stat lines. Mari Cooper had 6 for 98 for almost 16 points. I'm rounding up in all these in case you guys aren't watching on the screen. Eli Moore has 5 for 44 and a touchdown got him to 15. Zay Flowers had 5 for 73 and 12 points. OBJ had 1 for 40 on broken coverage and 1 touchdown that made his day for 12 points. Bateman had 2 for 25 for 4.5. Nobody else did anything there. Andrews, disappointing, 2 for 44 for 7 points. David Njoku, 9 for 58 for 15 points. So that's actually a good day for Njoku. The kickers, D-Hop was good, 13 points. Tucker, another bad outing with 6 points. And both defenses put up 17, and I imagine are going to finish in the top 5 or 6, and they're both great defenses. So what do you think here?
It's pretty interesting how it broke out. But like you're talking about Ford, yeah, he's the running back in that backfield, which I've been a big fan of his talent, and it's showing through. He basically 50 snaps to Kareem Hunt's 28. He over double the routes run, a ton of carries like you're talking about. Like it's his backfield. It's that goal line touchdown, which Hunt's probably going to vulture some more throughout the year. So it just caps him a little bit, but like overall, like I like what I saw out of Ford. He was explosive. He looked good. By far the best running back on the team. So like moving forward, he's the running back.
It was a 65-35 split for Ford on snaps. And for the Ravens, it was 50% for Gus, 26% for Hill, 24% for Mitchell. So the Ravens are a fucking mess. Cleveland appears to be Ford, all Ford. I think Ford might be a buy low, especially when you look at the stat line. Like I said, he looks like he's just another guy in this one, but his usage here is by far the best. And I think he's probably an RB2 moving forward.
Yeah, and I would try to get out from Keaton Mitchell if you can at all, because I know people were hyping him because he had the long play and touchdown, but like he's just not going to see. He's never going to see enough snaps to work on that, so he's just going to sit on your roster and just burn you most of the year.
All right. Anything else? You want to talk quarterback, receivers, tight ends? What else in this game?
Yeah, it was weird. Like we had Watson dealing with that injury. He was in a cast after the game, but he said he's okay, so he should be playing next week. But this was a weird game. If you watched it, it was like up and down all around. He thought Baltimore was going to roll, but I mean, for the wide receivers, Elijah Moore's alive, I guess, which was nice to see. But it was so concentrated around those three for Cleveland. It was like Cooper with 8 targets, Elijah with 7, Njoku with 9, and then nobody else had 2. So like it's those 3. And then on Baltimore, it's still our boy Zay Flowers. He was the wide receiver 1. So like moving forward, you're not going to expect Odell to get the broken touchdowns, right? So it's Zay and Andrews on that offense like we were talking about.
I was disappointed Bateman again wasn't really involved. OBJ, it was all one play, so I'm completely disregarding that. He will not be in my waiver wire column this week. Just it's a complete one-off throwaway. Andrews was kind of disappointing, but this was they had a big lead and chose to run the ball quite a bit, and then they kind of pissed it away. And by the time they started throwing, Lamar was off target a lot and struggled with some interceptions here. That's a disappointing game for Andrews. They must have, I feel like, were they double covering him? I only seen the second half of this. Double coverage? Yeah.
That. And like Cleveland's really good against tight ends. Like he's the only one who's done anything against them all year. If you look at the stats, like he popped against them earlier in the year. So we're like, trust it, but you knew it was a little bit risky.
There's your answer right there. Lamar only attempted 23 passes.
Yeah, they didn't run a ton of plays. Like it's weird because they got
it was a slow game.
Yeah, it's just an odd game. So I wouldn't read too much into it. It's just a little disappointing sometimes. Sometimes it happens. We got a comment in the chat, by the way. I wasn't looking at the screen, but we've had some.
I am not either.
Not
So
paying attention.
good thing you said it. Oh, we got a few. You guys grind hard. Yes, I do, Tyler. Yes, I do. Actually, Tyler, I took your advice. We are going live with it right now. And then once we are done, I'm breaking it up into game by game. That's kind of why I break at each game and introduce it as if it's a new one, because I'm cutting it into 7 pre-recorded videos and they'll be released one at a time. I agree, though. I think I released this one, re-released this one as a recorded show as well, but still. Okay, so I'm down 9. Opponent had Jacobs. I have Hall, Garrett Wilson, and the Raiders D. Should I start Javonte or Sutton over Wilson?
I mean, this is tough. Like you're talking about with Javonte. Like, I want to bet on Talon Wilson, but it's just freaking Zach Wilson, man. It makes it so hard to trust Garrett Wilson in this game. I wouldn't be too worried. Jacobs has been really good, so I'm actually debating on going back and forth between these. Like, I think Javonte could give you a much safer floor than Garrett Wilson or Sutton, honestly. But if you want to go for the jugular,
my question here is, why the hell do you have the Raiders D?
Yeah, that seems risky.
I don't want to start Garrett Wilson against my own defense. I would go, okay, who's left? There's no chance Buffalo's available. I don't want Denver. Ugh. No. You're screwed unless you can get the Jets defense off of waivers right now, which I highly doubt.
Well, I mean, the game's already started, so I think it's a little too late. Or wait,
has it
yet or not yet?
I don't know.
It's 5:30 starts? Yeah, no, we got like 8 minutes. Yeah, so you could I doubt they're available because they're a much better defense.
I'm still starting Wilson, but I hate starting one of my star players against my own defense. I fucking hate that. Because you're helping every time you help yourself, you hurt yourself. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, same thing. Right there with you.
All righty, let's move on. Our next game, we have Houston 30 over Cincy 27. That was a hell of a game there. I did not see that coming. These two, actually, I'm surprised these weren't much bigger games if you read the yardage totals, but they threw some interceptions. Stroud was 21 fantasy points on 356, 1-1. Burrow had 27 fantasy points, 347 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So the extra touchdown helped Burrow. The interception, like I was expecting, watching that game, both throwing for almost 350. I expected these two to both be over 30. Having said that, I'd be willing to bet these two are probably top 5 quarterbacks in this week. But the running backs, it was a Devin Singletary day. 30 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown. If you listen to us in the pregame, the sit start, you're welcome. He was pretty damn good. I'll get to those comments in a second. He had 26 points. Joe Mixon had 11 for 46 and 1. The touchdown saved his day. No other running back was any good. Noah Brown had 7 for 172 and 25 fantasy points. Tank Dell had 6 for 56 and 1 touchdown for 19 points. Chase had 5 for 124 and a touchdown for 26. There's some big numbers here on the receivers. Tyler Boyd had 8 for 117. Trenton Irwin was even, decent. 2 for 54 and a touchdown saving the day. Tight ends were both average. 4 for 71 for Schultz for 13 points. 6 for 33 for Tanner Hudson and 12 points. Sleeper does not have an up-to-date kicker. I know they started a kicker. I can't remember.
I was going to say.
It's not Fairbairn. And I know it's somebody else. It was Amendola. He kicked the game winner. And they don't even they don't even fucking put him on here. Gotta love it. So I don't know what Amendola did. He hit the game winner, I can tell you that. McPherson was okay for 11 points. Houston's D was good off the 2 interceptions and 4 sacks. They put up 12. The Bengals were, they didn't kill you, but they weren't good. 1 interception and 8.5 points. Before I ask you how you feel about that, let's get into where these. I'm up by 4 right now because Dotson put up a dud. Yeah, he does that. He has Josh Allen, and I have Devontae. Do I win? No, you do not.
I don't think so. I do not. I would not feel good in that situation.
I would love it if you won, because in my big league, the one player I have left is Javonte Williams. So if Javonte Williams is able to outscore Josh Allen, I'm cheering for you, because I would love Javonte Williams to put up a big game. But
Van Allen's a monster.
I don't
It's
like
tough.
it.
It's real tough. That deck is
I would
definitely
say,
get
okay,
you over.
if you were up 40 and it was Javante against Josh Allen, you got a chance. But four,
Yeah, I feel a lot better.
four is not great. Not great.
Yeah, you're gonna be sweating it out tomorrow night.
So what do you think about this one?
CJ Stroud is a goddamn stud. Like, he is incredible. As a rookie quarterback, like I was talking about this earlier today, I was like, this guy deserves to be an MVP discussion. What he's doing as a rookie is just, it's insane. He like took him down, game winning drive, no problem. It didn't even matter. He wasn't phased. It reminds me of Joe Burrow, how we talked about Burrow coming on a couple years ago. The same stuff. Like, it's just not phased at all, could do it all, just hits all the throws, and man, when you need a play, he makes it. So like, I love seeing that. Yeah, we talked about Singletary. That was awesome. I do not expect him to go 30 for $150, but since he does give up a lot of explosive runs, so that's part of it, right? Like, that's the issue they have, and they got shredded by Singletary. And Tank Dell, like, I love Tank Dell, 14 targets. That's just, if Nico is out, like, you could just fire up Tank Dell all the time, and he will be great for you. So yeah, there's a ton of things that I'll take away, but those are like the pieces. Like, Houston's for real, and they're going to push for a playoff spot this year. Like, that's my main overall takeaway.
There were a lot of good players in this one, but people are getting a little carried away with Houston, I think. I won't say who, but someone the other day said they predict that this was like 2 days ago, going into the week, that Houston finishes the season at 14-3.
Yeah, that was Colin. I was like, whoa, dude, easy.
Dude,
well, like we did that spaces, right?
Dude,
like,
14-3. They're
like,
5-4 right now.
Yeah.
What are they going to lose a loss? You win, you beat someone so much they take away one of your losses. How does that work? How do you finish 14-3 when you're 5-4? The math on that doesn't check out for me. I don't know about you.
Not at all. But yeah, I was like, I mean, seriously, like with Jacksonville's offensive struggles, we'll get to them in a little bit. Like, Houston's going to be a problem for them, like winning that division. Like, they're closing the gap. So Jacksonville needs to figure it out. But yeah, like in Cincy, like they had the opportunities to win the game. They just didn't. Burrow threw that costly interception. It sucked. But for fantasy, like Jamar Chase, he was a stud. Tyler Boyd, like we talked about. Joe Mixon got you there in volume, which, you know, and it's not like you were starting a tight end for the Bengals. Nobody was that bold, right?
I think Houston might be the best team in that division.
Yeah, I think they definitely could be. Like, Stroud's playing at a level as good as Burrow, if not better right now. So it's like, he's the best quarterback in the division. Like, that's going to give him a chance every week. They are really good.
Just goes to show you that both these teams, you can start the top two receivers and a running back here, which is amazing that Singletary was this good and Pierce is that bad. I wonder if just Singletary just gets completely benched here, or Pierce gets benched.
Well, yeah, because he was out for this game, so
that's what I mean. Like, if Singletary comes in and does that, it's clearly not an offensive line. Like, the matchup wasn't anything to write home about. You got a guy who can't do anything, and then Singletary comes in and he's like, "No, I got this. Fuck the offensive line. I'll run for 150." So,
well, like the OC Sloak was talking about it, and he said he fits the offense so much better. Like, what the type of offense they're trying to run, Singletary fits it to like way better. So it honestly wouldn't surprise me if they just roll with him moving forward, and Pierce plays like an ancillary role.
That might be. I'm going to add to it right now, but that might be my waiver wire ad here of the week. Mm-hmm. I'm going to add that for my article. I like to do that when we come up with one. I'm like, I don't mind that at all. I think I'll be adding Singletary as my waiver ad of the week.
Yeah, he's still on like in the redraft. He's only at 52% roster on Sleeper, so he's going to be.
I got him on waivers this morning on a league where I had so many players on bye or injured, and I put in a waiver claim on someone else, and it didn't go through, and it runs nightly waivers even after the original one. I fucking hate that. So this morning last night I put in like 4 claims on just absolute dog water running backs, and I got Singletary. I don't know if I think he was in my lineup because I had Pierce and Pierce was out. So I was like, ooh, lucky me. 26 points.
They play Arizona next week, so hello fantasy points.
Yeah. So add him to my waiver column. Move on here. We will move on to their division mates who got smoked. San Francisco 34, Jacksonville 3. This was one-sided. Brock Purdy 296, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions for 32 points. That's, I think, the highest number we've seen out of a quarterback so far. Trevor Lawrence, not good. 185 yards, 2 interceptions for 2 points. That's bad. I don't know if my math checks out, but that's not good. Christian McCaffrey, 16 carries, 95 yards, no touchdowns, still put up 22 points because he had 6 for 47 through the air. Juszczyk vultured his goal line touch and got 11 points because of it. ETN, not a great day either, 9 for 35, 2 for 9 through the air for 7 fantasy points. Dearness Johnson had 3 for 12. Not great. Debo had 3 carries for 29 yards and a touchdown, and then 4 for 30 in the passing game. So he was more productive on the ground than he was in the air. 16 points because of the touchdown. Ayuk 3 for 55 and a touchdown for 15 points, but the Niners were largely just running the ball, running the clock out here. Christian Kirk had 6 for 104 for 15 points. Would have been more if he hadn't lost the fumble. Calvin Ridley doing Calvin Ridley things. 2 for 20, 4 points. That's right. I will commence my victory lap right now. Calvin Ridley, 2 for 20, bringing him to, what is that, wide receiver 42, and it's going to go down because he sucks.
Good grief. Good grief, man.
Tight end George Kittle had 3 for 116 and 1 touchdown. I believe, if I remember, it was 7. The touchdown was 73 yards or something. Anyways, that was 25 points. 4 for 12 for Engram, who didn't kill you, but he didn't do great. 10 points out of Jake Moody. He was good. Brandon McManus killed you with 3. The Niners defense did what they do, put up 25. Probably shouldn't have been starting the Jags, but if you were, they killed you. What is your takeaway from this?
It reminded me of Vintage Kittle, where he just bust that play for just yak. He literally burnt the guy down the seam, and I was like, okay, he's still a freak athlete.
And then he taunted on the way to the end zone.
It was so great. I was like, this is Pete Kittle. I love it. He's literally my favorite player in the NFL. Like, the stuff he does is just absurd. So I would love to see him in an offense that could feature him more, but it is what it is. McCaffrey was heavily featured in like the passing attack. He saw 9 targets. No one else saw more than 4. And the Jags offense just, they looked broken. Like, it was so rough watching them try to do anything against this defense. And the 49ers have, if not the best defense, one of the top 3 defenses of the league. But man, like, Lawrence could do anything. So they need to figure it out and fix it quickly, or it's going to snowball for them. Because they had a 6-2 record, but they were not playing that great going into this game. And this just only adds fuel to that fire. So they need to reassess and make some changes. But like, San Francisco was just clearly the better team, and they just piled on and piled on. It's like that Keanu Reeves where he's talking about it, just the sand traps you and you can't get out. You just sink further and further. Like, that's basically.
Did you just quote The Replacement?
Yes, I did. It's one of my favorite
Quicksand.
things.
Quicksand.
Quicksand, baby. We get you.
We got a Footsteps Falco quote out of the show. Well played. I believe I need to quote tweet that. What time are we going? What was it? B to bookmark? I'll be bookmarking that. A Footsteps Falco reference. I love it. You got me completely off this game. But so Purdy, I think as of now, through the games we've seen, is QB1. McCaffrey was great. They eased up, and you've seen a lot of Mitchell late because they had a huge lead. Everyone on the Jags sucked except for Christian Kirk, who was good except for the fumble loss. That makes it look not as good. I don't mind Kirk as a buy low. He doesn't seem to get any respect. Like, if you ask me, I would trade you Debo for Christian Kirk straight up. I want the Kirk side.
Yeah.
Ayuk, another one where he might be a decent buy low as well because he didn't get a whole lot because the Niners were largely just running the clock out. So this game might have a couple of receivers that I've been high on that I'd like to buy low in Ayuk and Kirk. Thoughts on either of them?
I mean, I thought Kirk's been undervalued this entire year. Like, he was like wide receiver 29 going off the board this season, and we were just like, why? And no one really wanted to. No one was talking about it, even though he had a really good year last year.
No, everyone wanted Ridley.
Yeah, and he's been by far the way they feature him on that offense. I mean, another 11 targets. No one else even saw anything close to that team. So he's the guy in that offense you want. And interestingly enough, this sucked. Like, ETN had probably his worst game of the year. Oh yeah, by far. It's not even close. They just couldn't do anything with him. So I'm sure they'll fix it moving forward. But yeah, like, I'd happily go get Kirk, and he still seems undervalued, like you're talking about. I think that's actually a great idea to go do that.
We do this every week. The rankings will come up, and we'll argue Debo. We'll argue all 4 of them as if they're in the same tier, and I don't think they are. I think it's easily Ayuk as the 1 and Kirk as the 1, despite the fact that Debo outproduced here. But a lot of that was Debo getting carries late in the game.
It's the problem. Like, 4 guys and somebody gets left out every week. It just happens. It's just how it goes. There's too much good talent.
Actually, it didn't. All 4 of them got theirs this week. Kittle was good.
Like, you know what?
Yeah. So that's where, but
it could have been a monster day for McCaffrey too. If he would have got that other touchdown, we would have been pushing like 30.
Could have been a monster game for all of them if Jacksonville had put up any fight whatsoever. These are the two teams with the same record who could not be more different. I think San Fran's a legit contender, and I think Jacksonville is going to fight to make the playoffs. That's amazing. You look up and see the record, but Next up, Saints losing 27-19 to the Vikings. This one was messy. Dobbs, another good one, 268 and 1 for 28 points. Derek Carr left with an injury. I just did not look good. Was a shoulder injury and concussion, 110 yards for 5.5 points before leaving. Winston came in, 122 for 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was largely just playing YOLO ball and chucking the fucking ball up downfield, so there wasn't much to write home about there. Kamara had an impressive day, despite the fact I didn't think he did that great. 9 for 42, a 2-point conversion, but it's the seven receptions for 33 yards. So if this was non-PPR, his stat looks, or his fantasy day looks a lot different. The 7 catches really helps. That got him to 19. Jamal Williams was useless, 4 for 7. Madison was not great. I think for the 3rd week in a row, he was my sit of the week on Fantasy Pro, so yay me. 8 for 27 for Madison. Ty Chandler got 15 carries for 45 and a touchdown, largely saved by the touchdown, but that's concerning. I just want to scroll up here. Madison left with an injury in the 3rd quarter. That's why.
Then he's going to be waiver.
Ty Chandler played 72% of snaps after the injury. Kenny Nwangwu 17%. So I'd have to see what the exact update is on Madison. I didn't watch that game because I'm a Saints fan and it was painful. I got my Taysom Hill jersey on because, just like I said, I started him this week, so he sucked. That's what Taysom Hill does to me. This is a Taysom Hill jersey, I swear. Lave 6 for 94 and a touchdown. A.T. Perry 2 for 38 and a touchdown. Rashid Shaheed, 5 for 24. Jordan Addison, 4 for 69. Brandon Powell, 4 for 35. Nothing great here aside from Olave, just a bunch of middling guys. TJ Hawkinson was awesome. I guess he was healthy after all. Took some big hits too. I'm surprised he stayed in, but he had 11 for 134 and a touchdown. 37 points, which is going to be tight end 1 on the week. Taysom Hill had 2 for 17. Fuck you, Taysom Hill. Greg Joseph had 9 points. Groupie had 4. The Saints defense sucked, put up 4. Vikings put up 11.5 on the interceptions, the sack, fumble. What do you got? What are you thinking?
TJ Hawkinson, holy hell. So Josh Dobbs was hyper targeting tight ends in Arizona, right? He comes over, what's he do? The same thing. Like, he's TJ Hawkinson, we were like, oh no, he's not going to play enough snaps. And then just like, play him. It doesn't matter. Like, he's too good, right? And then Dobbs, 14 targets straight out of the gate. So hello to TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, that's like tight end 1. Dobbs is going to keep doing that. And by the way, Dobbs looks really good. So, like, there's a chance next year he could be their starting quarterback with stuff going on with Cousins. They got him for cheap. Like, he'll have a shot to be the starting quarterback next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, like, that's the range of outcomes things with him.
He never lasts with him, though.
Like, he's a fantasy monster.
He did this in Tennessee last year. 2 or 3 great games looking like a starter, then crashed down to earth. Arizona, 2 or 3. He seems to have a 2 or 3 game shelf life where he comes in, the teammates rally around the new guy. He plays great, and then defenses adjust, and he sucks again. So I assume we're going to get maybe 1 more week out of him. I don't know who they play next week.
They play Denver and then Chicago. But, like, for fantasy points, he's fantastic for fantasy
so
points.
So he's going to get 2 more good weeks because he's got Denver and Chicago. Denver, Chicago, bye, and then the Raiders. So you might get 3 decent weeks out of him the next 4, and then he gets 2 with Detroit and 1 with Green Bay. So I really
ride him to the playoffs for sure.
I'd ride him to the playoffs, and then I want no part of this after that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the fantasy points, the way he does it, it just works out. He doesn't have to be that good. But yeah, like, on the flip side, this is Olave's a saving grace. If he gets Jameis Winston, who actually is not afraid to chuck it downfield, that's huge for Olave. So, like, we had issues with Carr going into this where he was out using Olave. In comes Jameis. They hit him deep. Like, this is what I'm talking about. So, if Olave's quarterback moving forward is Jameis with that injury, I'm going to boost him up in rankings significantly. So, like, I love seeing that.
Yeah. All right. Next up. Steelers 23, Packers 19. More disappointing quarterback performances. 23 attempts for Pickett, who had 126 yards for 7 points. Jordan Love triples him up and didn't even have a great day. 289, 2 touchdowns. The 2 interceptions killed it. Still at 21. So I think as of now, he's still probably a top 5 or 6. Aaron Jones had 11 points, 13 carries, 35 yards. 4 catches helped. A.J. Dillon had 9 carries for 70 yards. Both of them had the 10.5 range. Jalen Warren and Najee Harris blew them out of the water. Go figure. 15 carries for 101 for Warren and a touchdown. 16 for 82 and a touchdown for Najee. Go figure. I'm looking at the splits here. 57% for Jones, 48% for Dillon. Jones got most of the third, fourth down inside the 10 work. 50-50 split here. Warren 52, Najee 50 on the snap share. Most of the third and fourth down was Jalen Warren, but both carries inside the 10 went to Najee. So I don't know. I'm starting to think Warren has passed him, but at this point, I don't think I hate flexing either of them. I really want nothing to do with Dillon. I think Aaron Jones will bounce back. Receivers, we have 5 for 84 and a touchdown for Reed for 20 points, 3 for 31 and a touchdown to save Romeo Doubs. Watson did nothing, 2 for 23, 3 for 51 for Wicks. Pickens had 3 for 45. Deontay had 1 for 17, so this passing game sucked for Pittsburgh. It was all on the ground. Musgrave had 2 for 64. Connor Hayward had 3 for 32. Boswell put up 13 points. Anders Carlson put up 6. The Packers defense was crap and only got you 2 points. And the Steelers salvaged the day with 10.5. What do you notice here?
They destroyed them on the ground. Like, there's like 23 pass attempts. They just ground and pound them to dust with these two, like Najee and Jalen Warren. You see the yards and everything. You're like, okay, that's the takeaway. They couldn't stop the run. So, and when you can't stop the run, the teams are just going to keep doing it. They don't need to pass. So this is a weird game script for Pittsburgh. Like, you would expect them to pass more just because we thought Green Bay's defense was good, but like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird game where they just ground them and just rode it all the way to a victory. So congrats to Pittsburgh, but that's why the receivers didn't get home. 23 pass attempts. It's really hard for people to get home with that little pass attempts. That's like Justin Fields at his low last year. So if you see that, that's trouble. It just is what it is.
Find my matchup chart on Twitter. I don't remember the Packers being this bad against the run. Is it just a bad game?
That's why I was surprised.
Where are we? Wide receivers. Oh, they are. Okay. Yeah, they were a top 6 matchup. No, they weren't. Sorry. That's Pittsburgh. Top 10 matchup. So it was, they haven't been great against the run, but the Steelers have been worse against the run. So I don't know why they had such a bad day today. They just decided to line up and run down their throat. So
I guess so. But hey, like, at least we got something out of Jayden Reed. We thought he was dead. So he had the most receptions. Obviously, friggin' Watson led the team in targets, but like, it didn't even matter. It's just inefficient.
I've been saying
Jordan Love issue, which has always been,
all year I've been saying that these three are just rotating who's taking turns being the guy that week, and it's whoever scores the touchdown is good. But to be fair, I mean, I guess the running backs, well, 100, they were both good, but the touchdowns helped them. But without the touchdown, they're both just average. Like, you take away the touchdown from each of them, they're probably all of them in the 10 to 13 points here between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Dillon was better. I wonder why Aaron Jones was so inefficient. 13 for 35 and was largely saved with 4 catches. That's a terrible.
He still got 19 yards on those receptions. That's really low for him. So yeah, it's just an inefficient day across the board.
Were they doubling him up here? Were they just sending everyone on him so they had to go away from him? That's interesting.
Yeah, I would like to look into that a little bit more. But yeah, you can just tell they just struggled offensively. They had a hard time getting anything going, and it is what it is. Pittsburgh's got good defenders, man. They're not the best defense in the world, but they got some really good key players on the defense, and they shine through today.
All right. Next, the Tennessee Titans losing 20-6 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The key takeaway here is the split in the Titans backfield. It's a 60-40 split with Tyjae Spears getting the 60, but we'll get there. Baker has 278, 2 touchdowns and an interception for 24 points. Will Levis came back down to earth, 199 yards and 1 interception for 6 points. Neither Titans back was very good. Like I said, the split before, it was 60-40 Spears. 5 carries. That was snap shares, though, not actual touches. So Henry still out-carried him 11-5, but Henry's 11 carries turned into 24 yards for 4 points. Spears, 5 carries for 18. Spears' big difference was he had 5 targets and got 4 catches here for 42. That put up 10.5 points. Rachaad White had 20 carries for 51 yards. That's gross. 2 receptions for 47, and his day was saved by a long receiving touchdown, if I remember correctly. Chase Edmonds, 4 for 9, nothing to write home about. The receivers here, Mike Edmonds. I combined. Mike Evans had 6 for 143 and a touchdown, putting up 28 fantasy points. Godwin had 4 for 54 for 9 points. Palmer 2 for 21. On the Titan side, we had Kyle Phillips 3 for 61. D-Hop 3 for 27 and Chris Moore 2 for 21. At tight end, nothing to see here. K. Dotton, after everyone picked him up, did what I said he would do, 2 for 10. Chigo Okonkwo 3 for 27. So hopefully Harry played TJ over Okonkwo because it wasn't even close. You have the tight end 1 on the week for probably the tight end like 18 on the week.
Yeah, he said he did. It's like cool.
Good. McLaughlin put up 8. Folk put up 5. The Bucs defense was good. They were worth 20 points, an interception, 4 sacks, and 2 fourth down stops. I didn't know that was something we got points for in this league, but okay. Titans 8.5. They didn't kill you. They were all right. Big takeaways here. Thoughts, I guess, on Derrick Henry being outsnapped by Tyjae Spears. It looks like a lot of it was in the passing game, but still.
Yeah, when these games that turn into blowouts, this is the issue with Derrick Henry, right? There's been a few games this year where they've just struggled offensively and they've just given Spears more work. And it's like, yeah, the Tampa Bay, good run defense. Henry went up against it. He couldn't do anything, so the offense struggled. They were not able to do much with Will Levis either. DeAndre Hopkins saw the targets, but it just did not work out. And so they just offensive struggled. Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, he just owned them today. And he also dropped another touchdown. So like he could have had another touchdown that he dropped wide open. Nobody was within 5 yards. He just got too excited and dropped it. So I was like, oh man, it could have been a better day for Evans. But yeah, Rashad, like we're talking about, like that's the volume. He's seen the volume, and he's gonna be good for you in fantasy, even if it's inefficient. It doesn't matter. So yeah, those guys you can just count on them each week moving forward. Godwin did not live up, but sometimes somebody's gonna fall short.
Jeez.
And yeah,
I don't know what's going on in Sunday Night Football, but I just seen a tweet saying that Devontae Adams already has 60 yards, and they're not even halfway through the first quarter. They're not even done the first quarter.
Let's go.
Okay, so we talked about that. Will Levis came back down to earth, despite the fact that it was a relatively easy matchup for the pass catchers. None of them did anything here. Mike Evans was good. Baker Mayfield is actually probably going to be a borderline QB, high-end QB2 here by the end of the season, and that is fucking terrifying. But Will Levis, if you sold high on him, congratulations. The floor has fallen out just as quickly as it was made.
Yeah, he's going to be up and down all year. It's just going to be Will Levis. He's going to have good and bad. Like that's his profile coming out.
This was the matchup for him, man. This was one of the best matchups for a quarterback. I'm trying to find out where it was. Next? What?
Yeah, they got Jacksonville, Carolina, and Indy the next 3 games. So I would expect that to continue in some of these games. It's going to be very up and down.
Not good. Not good. Not good. It's not going to get any better. Just a sec. I'm trying to scroll down here. Like I said, the site's not up, so I'm using my own Twitter for my own stats. But Will Levis, yeah, it's the second best matchup. The only way it was actually tied with Geno's matchup against the Commanders for the best matchup. They allowed 20.82 opposing quarterbacks. And at receiver, it was the second best for receiver as well. Best on the week because the Eagles are the best matchup for receivers and they were on bye. So you didn't do it this week. That's probably not great for the outlook long term for the Titans here.
And I don't waste your time on Kyle Phillips. He only saw like 23 routes. Like he wasn't even close to being on the field enough. So like if anyone's thinking, oh, Kyle Phillips had the best game, just don't worry about it. Like it's not going to mean much for him moving forward.
Next game actually turned out to be a decent one. Arizona beats Atlanta 25-23. Kyler's day return, I should say. 249 and 1 interception. Added in a rushing touchdown that I think – they won the game on a walk-off field goal, but this, I think, brought him close back into it. Heineke was hurt at some point. He had 55 yards and a touchdown before leaving. Ritter came in. He added in a rushing touchdown, and that's like 95% of his production here. He only had 6 attempts. Heineke's injury, excuse me, got a little sniffly here, is Heineke's injury is worth monitoring. Bijan did a lot early. I know it says he had 22 carries and 95 yards and a touchdown, but I feel like in the first quarter, I was like, holy shit, the Bijan breakout is here. But like he had one big run, he had the touchdown, and then they didn't go back to him all that much. Like it was little bit. And then we had Algier 9 for 31. So Bijan definitely had the game you'd want him to have. I just really thought after the first quarter, I thought this had 30-point day. James Conner was good, 6 for 73. Didn't get into the end zone though, so not a bad day. Like at the stat line, there's no targets, no receptions here, so the stat line looks worse. But for a first game back, I don't hate that. Nobody else of use there. The receivers were all pretty much garbage. Leading receiver was Scotty Miller, 1 for 2 and a touchdown. Drake London, 3 for 36. There you go. 1 for 2 and a touchdown. That's your leading receiver for the Falcons. Rondell Moore leads the Cardinals, 5 for 43. Michael Wilson, 3 for 34. Hollywood Brown shits the bed here. 1 for 28. Why does the babysitter always text me in the middle of these? Unbelievable. Single dad life, man. Kyle Pitts, not great either. 3 for 30. Trey McBride, the breakout continues. 8 for 131. And boy, am I glad I didn't trade him in my dynasty league. Prater was awesome, put up 18 points. Koo has been awesome in real life. Crap for fantasy. He put up 5. And both defenses were crap. So hopefully you didn't have to stream either of them. What do you got for this one?
Look at this comment from Dom. Like, do I panic? Yeah, I would be panicking, bro. Like, it's so rough for Saquon. I was thinking about that watching that game today. Like, you can't do anything. And Pollard, like, we'll talk about that game in a minute. But yeah, I would be panicking. Like
the Twitter was all about the memes today with the Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley sitting there realizing he's going to be on the Giants for the rest of the season. It was just meme city. So
yeah, just fake an injury, Saquon. Like that's just get out of there because it's so rough. And Pollard, like this was the perfect game, right? He didn't score. Well, but we'll get into that game in a minute. But yes, Dom, I would be panicking because it does not look good for either one of them moving forward.
Trade him to someone who doesn't know. You know what? And that was one of my takeaways that I wanted to get into on another show. But I've been through a lot of the I do my start sit and my start percentage for my alchemy article. And the one thing I noticed is we are really stubborn as like a fantasy community. Mm-hmm. There's players that are still being started. Like you'll look and it's like a guy who I'm not saying Michael Thomas because he's actually been decent, but say Robert Woods being outstarted, like Robert Woods getting a 15% start rate while Tutu Atwell's getting 4%. I realize not that situation, but it's like, what are we doing here? People looks like everyone got take lock and they just keep starting the name over and over and over again.
Name cache. 100%. It's the Tony Pollard thing. Like it's
we do this all the time. Sell him to someone who hasn't realized that. And I'm sure in his rankings, Pollard, I don't know where he ranks in I want to check here. Where is he? RB18, so he's still an RB2. You can probably still get something for him.
It's so frustrating, though. Good God.
So they're both still RB2s, and they're both still big names, so you can probably sell them. Did you have any takeaways from this one here?
Trey McBride. Like, hello, Trey McBride. Like, that's the tight end we all want. We got another dependable tight end. Kyler Murray, like we saw last week, Clayton Tune, and just how inept this offense was. Amazing what happens when you give them a capable NFL quality quarterback, who Kyler is actually better than that. So yeah, if you had Kyler and you stashed him or you have him on Dynasty, you're loving life right now because he looks legit and very good. So like those are my takeaways. And on the flip side, it's the lack of quality quarterback for the Falcons, man. It's just gross over there. And if Heineke, it's a hamstring injury. If it's a severe hamstring injury, I don't know. Like this could hamper this offense for a while. So yeah, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and specifically Kyle Pitts. Like people still hold Dane
this is another team where I don't understand why did they not trade for Ryan Tannehill? Arthur Smith coached him.
Like in the offseason, particularly, they said we're not interested. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just send them 2 first-round picks. Just do it. But live and learn, I guess.
Yeah, the hard way.
Yeah, it's
Next
just
up,
rough.
one of the funner games of the week. We have Detroit squeaking one out here, 41-38 on the Chargers. The Chargers might be the best 4-4 team I've ever seen. It just seems like every week they're playing an elite team with more firepower. Detroit, Miami, Kansas City. Like they must have the hardest strength of schedule I've ever seen. But we have what may be the QB1 on the week here. Justin Herbert, 323, 4 touchdowns and a pick for 37 points. Goff was also probably top 5 or 6, 333, 2 touchdowns for 26 yards. The running backs were awesome. It was about an even split on carries, but Gibbs was on the field 60-40 over Monty.
Mhm.
Gibbs had 14 for 77 and 2 touchdowns, 3 for 35 in the air. Monty was 12 for 116 and 1, so he was better on the ground, but got no passing work. Austin Eckler was Eckler. 19 for 67, so not a great day on the ground, but he did have the 1 touchdown. 4 for 48 on the day through the air is what gets him to 23 points. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Keenan Allen are fucking amazing.
Yes.
8 for 156 and a touchdown for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and was still outscored by nearly 10 points by Keenan Allen, who put up 11 for 175 and 2. The funny part is, in one of my leagues, I'm actually beating a team that had both Allen and St. Brown. So it tells you how stacked my team was. But
Yep.
Guyton actually had a decent day, 4 for 41 and a touchdown. And right when I was about to say, well, I guess it's a Guyton day and Quentin Johnston's completely dead, Johnson got himself a touchdown and had a similar day, 4 for 34. I don't know what to make of these receivers here. It's, I hope if I own a Chargers receiver, it's Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
On the Lions side, we have 2 for 46 for Raymond. Jameson Williams is dead. I said that a long time ago. He's also killed Josh Reynolds, though. That's how bad he is. They both sucked. Tight ends, Brock Wright had 2 for 23 and a touchdown for 11 points. Laporta disappointed with 4 for 40 because Brock Wright stole his touchdown, only because they kept talking about how Brock Wright wears Dan Campbell's tight end number. Donald Parham, Gerald Everett, both sucked. Riley Patterson was good, 12 points. Dicker was decent with 9. Both defenses put up negative points. I've never seen that before in a matchup. That's fucking insane. Negative 1.5 for Detroit, negative 0.5 for the Chargers. What do you think of this one?
Well, we knew going in, like, these offenses are legit, and these defenses, they could be just rough. Sorry, them. But Laporta's really interesting. Like, I think he's a really good player in overall. But if you could, and this will be a dynasty take, but if you could move him for Kincaid or get a plus on Kincaid, like, I'd happily do that. I just think he's a better player. But overall, this game, yeah, it's the freaking stud wide receivers. Like, these guys are built for fantasy. Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra, they get those easy targets that are just PPR cheat codes. That's those guys, and they're just living life. I checked the actual snaps and routes run. It was a 3-way split for the Chargers. We had Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton, and Quentin Johnston all running 35 or 36 routes. So it's like those 3 on the field the majority of the time. And Eckler's a freaking stud. It's just on the flip side, Gibbs, man. Gibbs, like, that is the biggest takeaway. Like, him getting 60+% of the total of snaps, like, you love seeing that. If he's going to get that, he's going to be a mid-range RB1 this season. So,
I clicked on the wrong screen here and found some interesting info. That would be me head-to-head against Tracy in this league. And it looks like I'm about to pull out a big win. That would bring, if you're listening to this, Tracy, that would bring your head-to-head record against me to 0-9 on the season. I just thought I'd point that out, Tracy. You're 0-9 against me. 0-9. Stop drafting kickers in the 8th round.
They'll do too. Yeah.
All righty. Next,
yeah,
Dallas 49, Giants 17. Good God. Dak 404. That is the QB1 on the week performance. 404, 4 touchdowns and a pick for 48 points. Danny DeVito has 86 yards, 2 touchdowns and interception. I know that's not his name. Leave me alone. Rico Dowdle led the Cowboys with 12 for 79 and 1. I've got to assume, I got to look for the splits here. I want to see what they are. With Dak on the field, Pollard was in for 90% of the snaps. So this was all Pollard until the game got out of hand. Then it was all Dowdle. So I don't think you panic, despite what we just said 5 minutes ago. Don't panic, drop him, don't sell low, Be patient. Dallas has had a lot of these weird game scripts this year where they beat twice with the Giants, where they beat the living shit out of them, and a lot of their players, with not named CeeDee Lamb, were bad. Barkley, 13 for 66. Not great. Receivers, we have a huge game for CeeDee Lamb. That would be 1 carry for 14 and a touchdown, then 11 catches for 151 and a touchdown for 41 points. Next up, we have Brandon Cooks dropping 9 for 173 and a touchdown for 33. Brandon Cooks is going to be like, though the receivers this week, the top 10 are insane, and Brandon Cooks is going to be like a top 6. Michael Gallup somehow managed to get to 16 points on 2 for 70 and a touchdown. Good God. The Giants, on the other hand, were not as great. We have Jalen Brooks here, who outscores the Giants' leading receiver, who is Sterling Shepard, who had 1 for 2 and a touchdown. Is this the second time we've seen a 1 for 2 and 1 today? What the fuck is going on? Slayton has 3 for 21. Wandell is 2 for 6. Nothing to see there. Jake Ferguson here has 4 for 26, but was saved by a touchdown. Cager has 1 for 10 and a touchdown. Bellinger, 2 for 34. That was disappointing. The touchdown, though, I guess would have made his day a lot better, but I thought he'd be good. Both kickers were not great. 7 for Aubrey, 6 for Bullock. The Giants were terrible. They killed you if you started them. The Cowboys were good. They're normally a little better. That late touchdown in garbage time with like 4 seconds left probably hurt their point total here. They put up 12.5. I'd be interested to see what it was before that garbage touchdown. But at one point, this game was 40-0. So I feel like the Giants screwed you late for 17 points against and fucking ruined a really elite day for the Dallas DST. But what do you think of this one?
The Giants are tanking. Like, that's the biggest takeaway. They're absolutely
you
tanking.
Don't say.
Tommy DeVito, a.k.a. You can't. Like, there's no way to spin this positively for the Giants. You can't start any of their wide receivers. Like, nothing's good. And even Saquon, like, it's just so limiting for him. It's so hard for him to earn every yard. Like,
starting the Penguin over here who lives in his mom's basement still wasn't a good idea.
But hey, he's an Italian, and it's a great story because his mom makes his bed and makes his food. Woo, cool.
Maybe she should play quarterback for him too.
Yeah, it might be better. I don't know. They're literally screwed. Like, I don't. And yeah. And Saquon, you can play him, but good grief, he has earned every freaking yard. And on the flip side, so like CeeDee Lamb was basically the wide receiver 1 in usage the past month. That's continuing, and they just popped off again. So CeeDee's on fire. I traded him this offseason, and I severely regret that decision. I feel like an idiot. But, it's magically good things happen when you give the best player in your team the ball. Yeah, that's CeeDee Lamb. Like, just keep feeding him the rock, and good things happen.
The fact that
and you look at those stats, it's just absurd.
But the fact that he's actually outperforming A.J. Brown, who was doing historical things, is fucking insane. I don't understand.
Yeah, he's on fire. And the thing is, like, they don't have any other, like, good – like, they have Brandon Cooks. He's fine. But, like, you don't have Devonta Smith. Like, down. Like, they don't have these other guys chipping into him. So he's just going to keep – he's going to be the wide receiver 1 this year.
Yeah. I'm dangerous.
It's not good.
I'm dangerously close to moving CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown up into my 1 and 2 for dynasty receivers. Yeah, I know it's Jefferson Chase, but
he's been my wide receiver 3. He will stay there. Like, there's no challenger for that. Like, it's too good, man. And yeah, like he's I know people. Somebody said in the comments that I posted about Lamb. They said somebody told them he's not a wide receiver 1. I said, just don't even listen to that person. This idiot is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
He may be the wide receiver 1. Yes,
who are you trading for it? I mean, what are you giving up? Good luck. It's going to cost you so much to get AJ Brown. Yeah. If you can do it, yeah, absolutely go for it.
Especially after they ate his bye week this week.
Yeah, so sure. Yeah, if you can do that, go get him. Yeah, him and CJ Lamb, or I can't even talk. They're elite, just fantastic wide receivers.
I think right now, if this is a redraft question, I think my redraft 1 and 2 right now at receiver are AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb. I think in Dynasty, I'd probably still rather have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but I think I'd rather have AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb this year for just redraft purposes. I mean, I don't know if that's crazy hot takey or what, but just the way they're performing, like, how can you go wrong?
No, like these targets are absurd. 14, 16, 14. And it's up there. Like him, Keenan Allen, all these guys, they're just, I mean, this is what happened. These slot wide receivers are very much in vogue, and he is loving life right now.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. This is our last game. And this one, when we get to it, is scary as shit if you own any of the running backs.
Yes.
29-26 Seattle over Washington. Both quarterbacks look like they got into the top 6 or 8 here. Geno had 369, 2 touchdowns for 30 points. Sam Howell had 312, 3 touchdowns for 33 points. The running backs were all pretty good. This is kind of deceiving here. Ken Walker had 19 carries and 63 yards for 24 points. He also had the touchdown in the receiving game. Because we broke 1 for 64 and 1. Zach Charbonnet had 6 carries for 44, but had 4 catches for 18 in the passing game. The snap share was 53-47 for Charbonnet. 15 of 15 on third down. So it looks like Charbonnet is the third and fourth down back and the pass catching back. So anytime it's a pass catching situation with Charbonnet, that scares the shit out of me. Looks like Walker's the rusher though, and I don't know. Brian Robinson, 8 carries, 38 yards, 6 for 119 and 1 in the receiving game. That is one long one, I assume it is, for 32 points. Gibson had 4 for 13 and 5 for 42 and a touchdown in the air for 17 points. It was 51-49 Brian Robinson on the snap share. So all 4 of these guys had decent days, but the snap percentages and splits are concerning, and it's kind of roulette for them. Receiver, we had 8 for 92 and a touch for Lockett. DK had 7 for 98. JSN had 4 for 53, 2 for 13 for Bobo. De'Ami Brown had 2 for 41 and a touchdown, 4 for 33 for McLaurin, 2 for 6 for Curtis Samuel. Jahan Dotson, 0 for 2 on the receptions. Tight ends, 5 for 40 for Thomas. Seahawks, hopefully you don't own any of their tight ends. They sucked. Jason Myers gave you 21 points. Joey Sly, 9. Both defenses were bad. 7.5 for Seattle, 2 for the Commanders. What do you think here? I think the most important part is pretty much the quarterbacks are always going to be borderline in the 10 to 15 range, and I think they're going to be featured every week in the start sit. But I think the most important part is what the hell do we do with any of this running back room?
Yeah, it's like I was talking about with Charbonnet. He just caps the ceiling for Walker. So like this is the thing. It's not like he's going to take over the role. Like that's not happening. Obviously, Walker had 19 carries, Charbonnet is 6, but it's more just he just limits his ceiling. And so if you have him as like a high end RB1, you're going to be more than likely disappointed. He still had a good game. Like he got home with a crazy just reception that you don't expect, and he took a house. So that just seems like a one-off. And same thing on the flip side with Robinson, right? He is not much of a pass catcher, but he saw 6 targets in this game, 119 yards for a touchdown. So seems like both these guys had outlier games from that perspective. But yeah. It's just going to be up and down with them a little bit. That's just what it is. Thankfully for the Washington offense, they're just going to keep chucking it. Howell, 44 more pass attempts like we're talking about. They're on pace to like break the passing record. Yeah. That's not going to change. 312 yards, like this is good. This is fancy goodness, right? And I was actually like in the second quarter, I was like, all right, I hate to say it, the Seattle offense sucks, right? And then what happened? They turned it on and they started just balling out.
Well, but this is what both of them do. This is what they both do. They throw like crazy, 47 and 44 attempts. Against the bad defenses, they turn into touchdowns. Against the good defenses, they turn into interceptions. That's why these two are matchup dependent. They'll give you 30, then they'll give you 5, then they'll give you 31, then they'll give you 7. It's look at the defense, play the matchup for these two. That's pretty simple, I think.
Yeah, they get the Rams next week. Howell gets who do they play? They got the Giants next week. So hello, fancy points for the Washington offense. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Barn burner here, hey? 6-3. Good God. Anything notable
I don't
here?
care.
Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams are good so far, but other than that, you don't have anything good if you didn't start anyone else. So, all righty.
Yeah, Jacobs has done nothing.
Yeah, it's an ugly game. Not a great start. So I guess we can end the show so I can go watch the last 3 quarters of that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful game. Good God. All right, everyone. That concludes the NFL Week 10 Fantasy Football Game Recap. Come back on Tuesday for our waiver show at noon. for Aaron and Jesse, I forgot to turn our names on because my kid was trying to stream the Fortnite podcast earlier. For Aaron and Jesse, thank you for tuning into the Mad Science Lab podcast. We will see you Tuesday. Take care, everyone, and hopefully you pull out a win tonight or tomorrow night. Good luck.